Before that, let's cross back to Wimbledon. This is a tragic and developing story after that car hit a school earlier today. Our reporter there is Stewart Willy. Stewart.
Ian, thank you. As you say, some very sad news in the last few minutes. We're hearing that one of the girls involved in this incident here at the Study Prep School has died. Many of the students who were injured, the 7 girls, were taken to St George's Hospital, just a few miles from here, which is one of London's major trauma hospitals, which suggests that their injuries were quite significant. We're also hearing just in the last few minutes that police have arrested the driver who stayed at the scene after he drove into the school at around 10 a.m. this morning. Of course, there's a lot of confusion as to exactly what happened. We're getting the sense now that the investigation here is moving from the emergency response into the investigation stage. Many of the fire service and ambulance personnel have left, as well as the police first aiders, but specialist search teams have been arriving. It's not clear yet exactly what caused that incident, but the investigation continues.
I was about to say, this is clearly an incredibly tragic development, Stuart, to hear that a girl has died. We know that a woman in her 40s has been arrested as well on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving as a result of that. We do await, of course, the fuller details of what happened to the driver and how the car ended up where it did. But we do know that despite the fact emergency services, as you were just saying, Stuart, have been sort of largely called down on this at the moment, the police cordons, the road closures, and clearly the disruption in that area will continue for some time.
There are still very significant numbers of police here. It's quite a sombre scene. We've been talking to some of the locals who are walking their dogs in what is a very popular recreation space for people in this part of London. They've been expressing a lot of confusion as to exactly what could have happened. This is a very narrow street. Cars don't come along here at speed, even when there's not a police cordon. So the focus will be on exactly what happened this morning at around 10.
Stuart, thank you. Stewart Willy, TalkTV reporter who's there in Wimbledon. We'll get the latest as well, full updates with Alex Dibble in a few moments' time. But that is certainly a tragic development in this story. It is what we feared could be the case. And of course, there are others injured as well, and those injuries will, as we understand it, vary in degrees of severity, and we await the latest on that. Alex Dibble, our Deputy Head of News, is back with us. Let's just reiterate for those who are just joining us, Alex, the latest from Wimbledon.
The Metropolitan Police has confirmed in the last few moments that a girl has died as a result of the incident that happened at the Study Prep School in Wimbledon this morning, and that a woman in her 40s has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. This is after the car crashed into that school building in Wimbledon. We knew earlier that the police had stressed no arrests had been made. This is the confirmation that after the death of a girl, an arrest has been made, and this is the charge, causing death by dangerous driving. So what we feared was that somebody may have died as a result of this incident. We brought you earlier reports that that had happened. That was unconfirmed until just a moment ago, when we did get that announcement from the Metropolitan Police that a girl has died.
We know others have been injured, and we don't have much more information on specifically what those injuries are, but as it stands, we know that there are children and adults involved.
Indeed. So there was an incident as a car entered the school grounds. It crossed a grassed area that we're actually just looking at this stage right now. It went through a fence, we believe, to enter that area, and then ended up crashing into the school building. In that grass area outside the building were adults and children enjoying an end-of-year school picnic, and it is our understanding that it is one of those girls who was involved in that picnic who has died. The woman who's been arrested is in her 40s, the Metropolitan Police have said, and the charge against her is causing death by dangerous driving. The arrest, rather, I should say, on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving.
In terms of response to this, we know that the Home Secretary and others have been responding. We haven't had anything from the Prime Minister on this, and maybe we won't, due to the fact this is a tragic and an awful accident. Whatever has happened and whatever the details, will be established in the fullness of time. But not a terrorist incident, and that's only reiterated because that was the initial speculation from many people. A car goes into a building, we've seen it before. Not the case here, and the police were rather quick to establish and certainly make that point.
That's correct. So very early on, it was made clear by the Metropolitan Police that they were not treating this incident as terror-related. That was significant because, as you say, that would have been the first thing on many people's minds as they saw the information for the first time this morning that a car had crashed into a school in Wimbledon. The Home Secretary, as you said, did respond relatively promptly after the incident. After we learned of what had happened, Suella Braverman said that she was saddened, described the incident as tragic, and thanked the emergency responders, whilst also saying that her thoughts were with everybody affected. The fact that there has now been an arrest limits now what can be said about this incident, because of course legal proceedings are now active, and it may be that a charge is brought. Of course, that will be a decision for later on. But the fact that the police have now said that a woman has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving puts us into a different phase in what we can and can't say about the story. But what we do know is that just before 10 a.m. this morning, 9:45, the emergency services were called to the Study Prep School in Wimbledon to report that a car had entered the school grounds and crashed into the building, and that there were many victims and people with serious injuries, and we now know that one of them has succumbed to those injuries.